Hello, BookTube. And I'm going to talk about two books that I've just received today. Now, a very generous subscriber has sent me a little bit of money to buy some books. And there's a couple books that I've been wanting for a long, long time. For, well, a couple decades as well. There's many, actually. But I thought, and because I had recently found really good prices for these two books, and I thought, yeah, they'd be nice to have. So when this came up, and the person wants to remain anonymous, but I really want to thank you because it's something that I've been waiting for a long time, and I never really thought I'd be able to get these two books. They're science fiction reference books, and they're great big honkin' books. And this one's a little more shiny. Yeah, it's sort of a volume 1 and a volume 2. Now, they're indexes. Now, well, index of what, you ask? Well, Index to Science Fiction Anthologies and Collections by William Contento. And the first volume covers, well, it was published in 1978 by G.K. Hall and Company. And it's part of their series of reference publication in science fiction, which a series is edited by L.W. Curry, which is the foremost sort of American science fiction and sort of a fantastic fiction bookseller. Been around for decades and decades and decades. I used to buy occasionally something from him in the late 80s and early 90s. And also David G. Hartwell, the famed anthologist. Well, it's sort of fitting that, well, he's an editor of anthologies, that he edited a book about an index to anthologies. And this one covers the years, well, up to 1977. So I'm not actually sure what year it actually starts, but William Contento was an engineer at Cray Industries. As far as I know, they did something with computers, so he was a computer engineer. And he was born in 1947 and died just last year in 2021. And that, when I saw a reference to his passing, it made me think of these again, and I've been sort of looking for these and other ones. But yeah, he talks about that the impetus to write these was that he was collecting anthologies, and he had about 800 books, and he couldn't remember what was where and how many times the same story was being reprinted in the various anthologies. So he started making an index of his own collection, and he showed it to friends, and they thought, oh, this is good, and you need to well, obviously science fictional type friends. And then he took it to conventions, and this sort of grew into something bigger. And it says the index now covers over 2,000 book titles with full contents listings of over 1,900 books containing 12,000 different stories by 2,500 authors. So about 83%, he says, he's personally examined, and then he said photocopies of the contents pages of others, and then references to some other ones. And it's basically, he says, an attempt has been made to include all English language science fiction anthologies and collections published through June 1977. And like he's saying, there's bound to be some admissions. But yeah, and it's quite fabulous. You almost need a magnifying glass, and it looks very busy, and it is very busy. It's the first section is the author. Well, it's actually first section is a checklist of all the titles. So in two columns, you've got every title. You've got the editor. You've got whether it's a general anthology. You've got whether it's an author collection and so forth. There's a number of abbreviations for that, and the publisher, as well as the year it was published, and if known, the month. Obviously, the if I didn't say, the editor as well. And then the next section is the author index, which he goes through every author and lists. And the first listings are books that they edited, if they did edit, and then alphabetical by title of story of theirs, and underneath each title, chronologically where that had appeared in an anthology. Now, remember, this is only up to 1977. And that's the period that I'm happy with that. And then what's the next section after? So it goes through every author and every story that's been done and the location of it. The next one is story index. So you got the name of the story. So if you know the name of a story, or I know the name of a story, I can look it up and find out where, up until 1977, where that story has been published or reprinted, along with the times where it originally appeared, then we go to the last part, which is quite I like as well, is just to browse. Let's see here. Let me see. You got stories, book content. So it's by title each anthology, and all the contents in it, including forwards and everything like that. So that's the good thing too. You can pull up an author, and you want to know what what introductions, forwards, notes, that kind of thing that they have written, then that'll be listed as well. So obviously, I one of the first things I looked for was Clifford Simak, and there was no surprises there. It was everything that I know. There's about three things. Future City. He did an introduction to Future City that was edited by Roger Elwood. There was a hardcover edition, and I think the stripped down paperback edition, but the introduction is still in the paperback edition. His collection of Skirmish, collection of science fiction anthology and science fiction stories he wrote, and I think the only other one is the Nebula Award that he edited. I forget what year it was, but and then there was an introduction that. I think that's it. Like there's three. There might be four things, but anyway, that wasn't a surprise. But anyway, it was nice to confirm what I know up until 1977. But I don't think he did anything after that either much. But yeah, and this is it clocks in at basically 600 pages. Yeah, just over 600 pages. As I say, it's the typeface is very small. I should really have a magnifying glass to do that. But he followed it up, and that was in 1978, and he followed it up later with another volume in 1984. And this covers 1977, well, from June, I guess, the other whatever month it was, to 1984, or is it 83? 83. And it goes up to December 1983. But there's also additions in here that are missed from the previous volume, so they've never merged the two, which is a bit. It would have been nice if it was. So with these two books, you could pretty well be sure every anthology that was written in the English language that contains science fiction, and it is strictly to science fiction. because and science fiction stories, there is a bit of straying where boundaries are or genre boundaries are crossed, and like in the first one, if there was any doubt of what it was, it went in. But if it was clearly horror, clearly ghosts or stuff like that, no. Unless there were science fiction stories in that anthology as well as these other ones, so that would be included. Uh, so yeah, and he just it's just the more of the same stuff. And however, there's a in the few years, like up until 2000 anthologies from up until 1977. This one has 1,000 science fiction anthology and collections. Uh, oh, wait a minute. The majority of entries are from. Oh, yeah. So 1,000 in this one. So half the amount in just a few years. And it follows the exact same format as the first volume. Now, he didn't stop there. There were no other volumes that came out the same as this, but he did start doing a yearly from 84 to 92, an annual. It was sort of it's called the Locust something index, but it also includes fantasy. I'm not sure if weird fiction is the title or horror, but it includes other books as well. And it's not just anthologies. It's basically everything that was published during those years. They'd be nice to get. They're not that expensive, but it's like something that I'm more interested in this material, and especially the first volume is the one that really is the one that hits my sweet spot. And you might be saying, well, why can't I use the internet? Well, yes, but there are some really good places like the Internet Science Fiction Database. Is that right? INSDB. I think it is. Yeah, Internet Science Fiction Database. It's incomplete in many cases, and there are errors in it. Not to say that there's no errors in this, but it's also, you need to then know what you're looking for to enter search terms for the most part. I think if you sign up, you might be able to have a browse type feature, but I personally can't seem to browse that easy on the internet through something. And this one I can just flip through, and while I'm looking at something and think of another author, flip to that and back and forth. Like I've been spending hours since I got this today going through it. But yeah, there's those. He did a whole slew of other ones. He edited. I think he did. Well, there's been many indexes to Astounding. I'd like to see his. I've never actually looked for it. But I've got one that's by Mike Ashley. And speaking of Mike Ashley, he did an index of supernatural and horror fiction from anthologies that's as similar as this, but for horror and supernatural fiction. And that's almost 1,000 pages long. I forget what year it goes up to, but I've just ordered a copy. It's a very expensive book, but I found one that was it was £8 and something with shipping. It says as new. I'm expecting an ex-library, but at that price, if it's as long as there's not pages ripped out and the binding is solid, I'll be more than happy as a reference for it. At that price, I that's just nothing basically. What can you buy with that? A couple coffees if you're lucky, if you drink coffee. And then it's gone. And this book will be around for a while. But yeah, so he's done lots, and he also edited one with Martin H. Greenberg. And I always want to say that's Martin H. Greenberg. That's the Martin Greenberg that associated did a lot of anthologies with Isaac Asimov, not Martin Greenberg, the 50s editor and publisher of Gnome Press. Two very different people, and from what I understand, very different sensibilities and everything else. But yeah, so anyway, does these excite me? And yeah, I guess that's a bit geeky, but you know, an index, a dry index reference book excites me. And anybody else interested in anthologies? Do they like anthologies, science fiction anthology, or any kind of anthologies? Oh yeah, the sorry, I wanted to say yeah, the edited one that he did with Martin H. Greenberg is for mystery and detective fiction. Um, I'm not sure if it's an anthology. One's of an anthology. I haven't looked into the material, but I know it's something to do with mystery and detective fiction. Anyway, that's it, folks. And again, you know who you are, and thank you very much for these 2 volumes here. I would have only bought the one, I'm sure, but they came as a pair. Extremely, extremely affordable. They're not super expensive to begin with, but yeah. So, yeah, and I will say, but you know, my PayPal information is down below. If anybody wants to contribute to anything for me, just let me know. Well, or send me. Well, yeah, you have to. But anyway, the PayPal is there to if anybody wants to help support me in getting a few things here and there. Thank you very much, BookTube. I'll talk to you next time.